And at the time, she was only 11 years old when she was kidnapped and drugged with jelly beans and flown on a private jet to New York. In that picture, and with the girl on Diddy's lap with the D&G sweater, that's her. She's 11 years old in that picture. They put those clothes on her. They did her makeup.
What if one of the most influential figures in entertainment, a name synonymous with wealth, power, and success, suddenly found himself caught in a high-stakes situation that feels like it belongs in the script of a blockbuster film? Sean Diddy Combs, the mogul who has built an empire from the ground up, now finds himself facing an unimaginable challenge behind the walls of a notorious prison. Charged with serious accusations of racketeering and trafficking, the entertainment world is shaken by the news. But what if the headlines only tell part of the story? What if Diddy's time in jail is far more intense and dangerous than anyone could have ever predicted?
People who have no concept of what going to jail is like, what is it like when you first go in there?
The first couple of days are heartbreaking because you're taken completely away from family. There's no interaction with anyone except prisoners or the guards. So you have no idea what to expect as far as going through things with the prisoner or the guards, because it can go either way when you first walk through those prison gates. So it's really, even for the toughest person in the world, it's scary because you just don't know what to expect.
And do you have all of your belongings taken away?
Everything. And I went in with extension braids in my hair. They made me sit in the cell and take every braid out of my hair before I was let into population.
I mean, for somebody like who's a billionaire beforehand, somebody like Diddy, it must be completely shocking.
It's actually, I don't think that MDC is for any human being at all. I mean, I'm not saying that no one belongs, you commit a crime, you have to wait to, your trial and everything else, but I don't think that jail is fit for anyone unless they clean up the conditions.
Lots of prisoners complain about lots of different jails and they say that the conditions are not up to scratch. What, in your opinion, makes the MDC stand out? What makes it worse?
What makes it worse is the food. Mostly everything is stale food, is old food that's donated by other people that they wrap up or they cook for you. Mostly everything they have is full of not roaches and the giant cockroaches. You can smell the mold, you can smell the rot, you can smell the jail that it needs to be rebuilt. It needs help. I don't think anyone should be in that particular jail.
There are lots of different people inside that jail. We know that there's a wing that houses high-profile prisoners. R. Kelly, Ghislaine Maxwell, now P. Diddy's in there. Are you aware of the high-profile prisoners? Do you have any interaction with them?
I don't have any, and we never had interaction with high-profile prisoners at all.
And one of the main reasons that a lot of people know about the Metropolitan Detention Center was because it made headlines in 2019. And one of the issues they had was keeping their prison population warm. And it gets extremely cold in Brooklyn.
Well, in 2019, something went wrong. They had a power outage. They didn't have any water. They didn't have any lights. They didn't have any heat. And the mayor the city council tried to bring over blankets, and the warden wouldn't accept it. They were banging. My brother called me from a cell phone that was not supposed to be there. And he cried. He said, "Listen, I think I'm gonna die in here." So I panicked. I said, "What the hell you?"
It all began when Diddy, despite offering an eye-popping $50 million bond, was denied bail. The court deemed him a flight risk, sealing his fate in one of New York City's most infamous detention centers, the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. This is the same facility that has housed notorious figures like R. Kelly, Ghislaine Maxwell, and even Jeffrey Epstein before his tragic demise. A place known for its grim conditions, where tales of cockroach infestations, freezing temperatures, and overflowing toilets are just the beginning of the horrors that await.
With a prisoner, do I have to, call a lawyer or what can I do? He said, "No, I'm going to freeze to death." I said, "Freeze?" He said, "Yeah, we don't have no water." So I called the news station and made a whole big show. And I went down there and I, had to do something about it, not just for my brother, but for anybody. He was telling me that he thought his roommate was going to die because his feet was turning purple. They didn't give my brother his medication. No gas, no lights, no water, no heat. for almost 2 weeks.
Just take me back to the moment, because I've seen the videos of you outside protesting. It is extremely impactful. You can hear prisoners shouting down from their cells saying, "We are freezing."
I screamed to the inmates. I said, "Everybody, please be quiet." And they stopped banging. I said, "If you are freezing cold, bang on the windows." It was so loud you could hear it from blocks away. It was so loud, and it was, it was heartbreaking, for me to know that, my brother and other people were going through this.
Yeah, and look, I've spoken to your brother, Jason, about this incident. He shared with me some diary entries that he kept from that time. At one point, he wrote, "I have socks on my toilet seat so that when I sit down, it will be warm." I mean, these are the sort of lengths that prisoners were going through.
It was horrible because, my brother's a man's man. So to hear him on the phone trembling like, "I don't think I'm gonna make it here, let me tell you what's going on," that was scary for me. I couldn't imagine, and at that time, it's funny because at that time, the news was, people were going up, picking up stray dogs, taking them off the streets and taking the bums off the trains and off the streets so they wouldn't freeze to death. But yet and still, you would allow these prisoners in that jail to freeze.
And look, we did ask the Federal Bureau of Prisons for a statement on what happened in 2019. They didn't directly address it, but they said they have an administrative remedy program for incarcerated individuals to seek formal review and redress of almost any concern they have regarding their incarceration. The Bureau of Prisons say the MDC should be safe, humane, and provide work and other self-improvement opportunities to assist offenders in becoming law-abiding citizens. Does the MDC, in your opinion, live up to what they say their prison should do?
Like I said, because you're in prison and you're serving time or you're waiting, to go to court or to go to trial or whatever it is, does not mean that you're not a human being. Just like what's going on with Diddy, he still deserves to be treated as a human being. He still deserves a fair trial, innocent before proven guilty. Whatever happened to that?
So how do you keep yourself entertained throughout the day? What do you do?
Well, I read books. And I daydreamed a lot. Like literally just to keep my head on straight. I prayed a lot.
So we were just hearing from Katana Yehuda about what it's like to stay inside the Metropolitan Detention Center. Andrew Dalek is a New York-based federal public defender, and he's represented lots of clients who've served time there. Andrew, is it really as bad as people say?
Well, first, Anushka, I want to thank you and the BBC for taking an interest in the conditions at MDC Brooklyn, because it is an important issue of significant public interest. Anybody who has a loved one detained in that facility, that they deeply care about their well-being and their safety there, and they have good reason to. It is as bad of a place as people say it is. But
Diddy's first day in the Metropolitan Detention Center was a jarring contrast to the life of luxury he had known for so long. Reports revealed that his inaugural meal was a far cry from the extravagant feasts he was used to: Swedish meatballs, accompanied by sides like green beans, egg noodles, and a garden salad. He could have opted for a black bean burger, but it was the meatballs that won out. Picture this: the man who once hosted million-dollar parties, surrounded by opulence and excess, now confined to a stark cell, eating meals many would deem unappetizing.
Now, and he got shook, and I just stood on top of him, grabbed him, and next thing you know, NYPD was there.
Okay, so that situation happened. And then a bit after that, in Atlanta, Suge's best friend, Big Jake, gets killed in a club. And this part's kind of fuzzy, but there was a rumor that Wolf was the one that did it. Puffy got blamed for it, and so forth. But I guess Wolf wasn't the one who did it, but still there was some sort of blame that Suge had on Bad Boy over that situation, right?
I don't know if Suge had blamed Bad Boy for that, because the situation never came, when I got with him, the situation never came to us like that. Now, I've heard Wolf talk about it, and Wolf told me personally that he didn't do it. And I know everybody knew the guy who did it. It was this dude, he's dead now, He got killed in Atlanta about 2 or 3 years ago. His father was from the Bronx and he owned the cleaners. Now, did Wolf and them know him? Yeah, they probably knew him. He was from the Bronx, his part of town. His father owned the cleaners. They knew this guy. You understand? Him and Jake was arguing over this chick or whatever. Now, did Wolf do it? How could Wolf do it when he was next to Suge? He was right next to Suge when Jake got killed. But everybody want to say Wolf did it because that glamorized the situation.
Right. Okay. And then after that, Wolf actually reached out to you and asked you to come back to Bad Boy and help out with security.
Well, I told Wolf he had to straighten out his thing with Slick. We met on 125th Street, me, Slick, Rico, and Wolf. Him and Slick talked and everything, and it was cool and everything. So he said, yo, Gene, I need you to come because we need somebody who was in law enforcement or legal that could carry a gun and everything to be with us. He said, and if you ran after me, and this was his own words, because I didn't see it and I didn't know it at the time, you know, he said, if you ran after me and I had a gun in my hand, I want you on my team. I said, I don't fuck with Puff like that, bro. He said, from the city college shit. He said, yo, you're gonna have your own contract. You're gonna have your own days. All you have to do is listen to me and make sure he good. I said, all right, man, we'll see. And that's when I went back.
Okay, so you joined the security team at Bad Boy with your own contract.
Right.
And Wolf was already over there, and Big Paul was over there as well.
Paul, yeah.
Yeah, Paulie. And Paulie was kind of Puffy's everyday guy?
Yeah, Paul was the guy who Puff helped him set up a security company, had him set up a security company. So he did the security at the house, the apartment building or whatever, and Sean John, and over at Bad Boy and the studios. So he set up all the security for those places.
Life in the MDC isn't just defined by bland meals. Former Warden Cameron Lindsay offered a chilling look into Diddy's new daily routine. He wakes up at 6 a.m., makes his bed, and scrubs his cell floor. With only 3 showers a week and a mere hour of free time each day, his once glamorous lifestyle has been stripped away, replaced by a monotonous, regimented existence that stands in stark contrast to the life of luxury he once knew.
Personal security as well?
Puff, that's all I did was Puff.
Okay, and I guess every so often, Puffy will put you with Big during certain events and so forth, right?
Well, like if we was on stage or Big was on stage, he felt threatened for Big, I guess. He said, yo, Gene, go watch Big. I said, all right, cool. You with him now?
Okay, so you doing some work for Big, did the two of you kind of form a relationship?
I think me and Big we formed a relationship on 2 occasions. One, when we was in DC doing Howard University. He made Puff shut the door down, and the people shut the door down, and it was D-Rock. I think D-Rock's birthday is the 17th, mine is the 16th of October, and he made him shut down the place, and just me and D-Rock bought like 5 outfits together, and then everybody else bought an outfit. And then Big used to just give me all the clothes that he didn't want. Like, you know, you had Nike, Lugs, you had Mecca clothing line. They would bring big boxes to Big everywhere he was at. And then he was like, yo, whatever he didn't want, he'd say, yo, D-Rock, you want this? D-Rock was like, nah, I don't want it. He said, yo, Big Gene, you want it? And then I was like, man, I'll take it and give it to the guys on the block, you know, who was part of our crew or whatever. But the kid was just good like that. And then we had a situation when we were in Atlanta that something was bought, and he thought I was gonna lie about it because Puff was trying to say it was his, and it wasn't his, it was Big's. And you understand? And when he said, and they had made a bet that I was gonna go on Puff's side. So when I got to the studio, I said, nah, Puff, you had that one, and Big had that one. And that's what it was. And Big looked at me, and you could see a smile on his face like, yo, this nigga's honorable.
Okay. And before all the drama began, did Tupac ever come around? Did you ever see Big and Tupac interact together?
No, I never seen Big and Tupac interact together. I seen Puff and Pac interact together, but I didn't see
really?
Big, yeah.
In what capacity?
Like we was at Roxy. They used to give functions and parties there. And then one time me and Puff walked up in there. It was, this was after Pac got shot and everything like that. And it was Pac and like 4 other guys. And Pac put a cigarette in his mouth. The dude lit the cigarette. I started laughing. I was like, who the fuck like a cigarette for? Like that. So then him and Puff talked, and that was it. It was nothing.
Okay, and then the incident happened at Quad Studios.
This was after the incident at Quad, when I seen Pac with Puff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, when the situation happened at Quad, Biggie was recording, I think, with Lil Sean. And I think Puffy was there.
As his legal team works relentlessly to secure his release, Diddy spends most of his days in the jail's special housing unit, isolated from the general population for his own safety.
Why?
Because being a high-profile inmate makes him a target, someone others might harm just to earn a twisted badge of honor. In a place where status is everything, his fame could make him a dangerous prize.
Those billions can't help him, right?
He still did it.
Yeah, he still did it. Come on.
Well, I mean, I went through the filings and the reports. So what they say, according, to the feds, that recorded phone calls made by Diddy show that he asked family members to reach out to potential victims and witnesses. Also urged them to create narratives to influence the jury pool. Also encouraged them to make marketing strategies to sway the public opinion. Diddy used the telephone accounts of at least 8 different inmates to avoid monitoring. He paid the inmates through intermediaries in violation of the rules, like you said, and he also was using 3-way calls and getting people on the phone, which is illegal. So basically what they said, the defendant has shown repeatedly, even while in custody, that he will flagrantly and repeatedly flout rules in order to improperly impact the outcome of the case. The defendant has shown, in other words, that he cannot be trusted to abide by rules or conditions. And I guess they actually found a note that inferred that he wants to blackmail victims and witnesses into silence by providing testimony, or into providing testimony that's actually helpful to his defense. So I guess what I'm wondering is, he does realize all this is being taped. You're using someone else's, privileges, but they're watching everything. Okay, a 3-way call is being recorded.
So my takeaway was much different from that. My takeaway was, I'm gonna wait for the government to file a superseding indictment, which we all believe is coming, because right now it looks a little thin. And it looks a little pathetic, I'm gonna be honest with you. Because yes, it's great to make Diddy look like this maniacal mob boss, which, of course he's using the influence of his money. But does anyone, again, it's good for the person who never ever dealt with someone in jail. How many inmates, and Vlad, no names here, how many inmates do you know that do 3-way calls? They all do it.
Yeah.
They all do it.
I talk to inmates
and it's always
on cell phones while locked up in Rikers.
Exactly. And
I'm not going to say who.
And no one is saying, yo, Vlad, this is to influence my case. Sometimes they just call me like, yo, what's the word out there, man? Everything good? Like, yeah, yo, I'm going to come home soon. It's all good. Blah. Sometimes it's never. So that I thought was a little bit thin. Obviously, they're trying to keep him in jail. Him putting money on other people's books. Yeah, he's a rich guy. He wants to have his privileges, right? Now, this whole thing of him trying to blackmail people, and I hate to even, because some people are going to be like, oh, no, he's getting Diddy's back. No, I'm defending someone who is, and this could be anybody, who's locked up and using whatever he can to his advantage to try to.
But here's where the story plunges even deeper into the shadows. Whispers from within the prison walls suggest that Diddy may have contracted a fatal disease during his time at MDC. The details remain shrouded in mystery, but revelations from prison doctors have sent shockwaves through those close to him. Could the unsanitary, hazardous conditions of the facility have played a sinister role in his potential illness? The chilling possibility that the very place meant to contain him could be slowly destroying him is a fear that can't be ignored.
An exclusive update on the federal case against rapper Sean Diddy Combs. NBC News has learned that a federal grand jury in the Southern District of New York is expected to hear new testimony today.
Combs' legal team did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Combs has pleaded not guilty to charges of racketeering, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. He's being held at Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center.
NBC News entertainment correspondent Chloe Malas joins us with more on her reporting here. Chloe, good morning. Good to have you with us. So what can you tell us about the testimony expected today?
So NBC News actually spoke to the attorney for this male who's going to be testifying this afternoon around 3 p.m. in front of a grand jury. Her name is Ariel Mitchell. She has represented other civil accusers. And this is incredibly significant because I was at the last hearing for Combs in downtown Manhattan, and I listened to Emily Johnson, one of the U.S. attorneys, one of the prosecutors who is trying this case, say that there might be another indictment. So this just goes to show you that federal prosecutors, that criminal investigation is ongoing. Now, it's unclear what this man will be saying. Remember, grand juries are secret. You're not supposed to know the date and when the grand juries are convening, but obviously we have this great reporting and we know that a male is going to be testifying this afternoon, and it's unclear if there will be more charges coming. And like you said, Diddy's legal team, they haven't responded because they can't comment on grand jury proceedings, and the U.S. Attorney's Office hasn't said anything either.
So that's the latest on the criminal side. There's also some civil issues here. Combs faces more than a dozen civil lawsuits. The most recent was filed on Monday. Only one has been settled so far. What's the timeline looking like for these civil cases?
So he has been coming out denying all the accusations against him, both criminal and civil, and he has been fighting them. As we know, he settled with Cassandra Cassie Ventura, his ex-girlfriend, last year for an undisclosed amount of money that was reported to be in the tens of millions of dollars. But I do want to point out something that's really interesting. Last night, a ruling came down from a U.S. district judge in New York stating that one of the civil accusers, a woman who remains anonymous, she goes by Jane Doe in this civil suit filed by Tony Busby. He's the attorney out of Texas that has filed several lawsuits against Diddy. The judge ruled that this woman had to reveal her identity, or in a few weeks, she's actually going to dismiss this entire case. And this is incredibly significant because could that mean that other civil accusers will face the same fate and have to come forward? The judge said that the idea that she needed to remain anonymous because she was afraid of Combs potentially hurting her or threatening her seemed unlikely because he's currently behind bars awaiting trial. They also said that, yes, in the ruling, the judge said, yes, it's humiliating. It's hard to come forward and to put your name out there, but that does not outweigh the reasons for you having to come forward and put your name to it. So we've reached out to Combs' legal team for comment. This is a win for them. They haven't said anything. I've also reached out to Tony Busby, who filed this suit, and he was the one that filed those new lawsuits, Joe, on Monday. So again, it'll be interesting to see if this affects these civil cases. And again, Combs is expected to go to trial on May 5th. So it's going to be interesting to see, though, if things are going to get pushed back, or could this extend the length of the trial if there is another criminal indictment?
Yeah, and that's that criminal trial. And you do think that will stay on track for May?
So according to both sides, they believe that this is going to take place on May 5th. But if there are more criminal charges, it could mean that about a 2.5, 3 week trial could extend to even longer. So you could see this going on for quite some time.
All right, Chloe, thank you so much.
But here's where the story takes an even darker twist. Whispers circulating within the prison suggest that Diddy may have contracted a fatal illness, possibly the result of crushing stress, severe malnutrition, or even foul play. While no official confirmation has been made, the mere rumors have set off alarm bells, sending shockwaves through his fan base and beyond. The possibility that something more sinister is at work, beyond just the harsh prison conditions, adds a chilling layer of uncertainty to his already nightmarish situation.
$48 million Miami mansion to hell on earth where chaos reigns. Just some of the words used to describe the Metropolitan Detention Center where Sean Diddy Combs is now being held without bail after pleading not guilty to sex trafficking and racketeering charges.
Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct.
He is not the first high-profile inmate to pass through these walls. Ghislaine Maxwell, R. Kelly, Pharma Bro Martin Shkreli, and crypto fraudster Sam Bankman-Fried, all as they waited for their federal criminal trials, called this jail home. But the conditions of the prison are far from homey, notoriously described as, quote, dreadful, as one judge put it. Some on the bench have even moved away from sending nonviolent defendants there. In April, a group of detainees that prosecutors said were MS-13 gang members in court documents stabbed an inmate 44 times in an attack caught on camera. 2 shivs were recovered from the attack. You see them here. The victim survived. And in the last 3 years alone, 4 inmates have died by suicide. And violence is not the only issue. Accusations of medical neglect, staffing shortages, smuggling of drugs, some allegedly facilitated by employees. At least 6 staff members charged with crimes in the last 5 years, according to the AP. Some accused of accepting bribes and providing contraband.
I've had clients describe MDC as hell, as the worst conditions they've been in.
Lance A. Clark is a federal defense attorney who's been there many times.
Now, if the government is going to mandate that they are responsible for your well-being, they have to ensure the safety of your well-being.
Occupy the streets until they get heat!
In the winter of 2019, protests over a power outage left inmates without light or heat for a week in the cold.
I understand how cold it must be in those cells, and not to have any electricity, any lights, and to not be able to communicate with your family is just inhumane.
The prison has about 1,200 detainees and is the only federal prison in the nation's largest city. The DOJ shut down New York City's other federal jail, the Metropolitan Correctional Center, back in 2021, 2 years after Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide there. A Bureau of Prison.
Adding even more fuel to the fire are the shocking allegations now surrounding him. Diddy, once hailed as a pioneer in the music industry, is now facing accusations of heinous crimes, ranging from trafficking individuals for prostitution to being involved in insert asterisks for word trafficking. The man who once redefined the world of hip-hop and luxury is now at the center of a scandal so dark, it threatens to tear apart everything he's built. As these accusations swirl, the once untouchable mogul finds himself facing a storm unlike anything he's ever encountered.
MDC has historically had tremendous problems, and the problems aren't resolved.
Combs' lawyers originally hoping he could await trial under house arrest at his mansion, now arguing for him to be moved to a prison in New Jersey in the lead-up to this trial, citing the prison's poor conditions, violence, and deaths. On Wednesday, his lawyer said he was being held in a special housing unit with an extra level of security.
Now, so what is next? Is he going to be in jail in this facility until the trial begins? Is there a chance he could, get moved earlier than that? As of this moment, as of this hour, as of today, yes. But of course, as I mentioned earlier, they're going to be appealing this thing next to the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals to overturn the judge's order here to try and get him actually released to his mansion on $50 million bail, wanting a GPS monitoring system, limited visits from family members, friends, so on and so forth. That is what they're proposing because of course, the violence I talked about in that piece inside these jail walls. They also, in the meantime, Hal, want to get him moved to a jail and or prison in New Jersey. The judge so far has essentially said that is up to the Bureau of Prisons to make that decision. Nonetheless, it's all going to be on appeals leading up to the trial. His next court appearance, by the way, October 9th. So looking for that, of course, and any decisions coming out from the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals on this order.
These charges have cast a long, shadowy veil over a man whose public persona was once built on charm and charisma. The once celebrated mogul is now painted as a figure of suspicion and scandal. And let's not overlook the damning text messages allegedly sent to his ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. Messages that have only fueled the fire, deepening the scrutiny surrounding him. With every new revelation, the man who seemed untouchable is being slowly unraveled, and his empire is now teetering on the edge of collapse.
Mogul Sean Diddy Combs will try for the 3rd time to get bail today while he awaits trial on sex trafficking and racketeering charges. Scripps News national correspondent Alex Miller is live in New York City where this hearing happened earlier today. Alex, there was already a hearing earlier this week looking at notes taken out of Sean Combs' cell. How could that impact his chances of bail? His team says that raiding his cell, monitoring his calls, is not allowed and not fair to allow him to prep for a trial.
You know, it'll be interesting to see if this ends up happening. We just got out of this hearing, nearly 2 hours long, and they only talked about these notes at the very beginning. They discussed essentially whether or not they said the word legal on them, and there was a bit of a discrepancy from the defense. Essentially, they backtracked on this even just a little bit. Essentially, he has these binders, legal pads that, according to the photographs from the raid on his cell, did not say the word legal. All of a sudden, now they do, and the defense couldn't exactly say when the word legal was written, and that matters because if it said legal on any of these notes, that is part of attorney-client privilege. Those are things that should not have been taken out of his cell. So there is a big question about that. But Nate, the bigger issue here now is he going to get out? As of tonight, he is still going back to his jail cell. But next week, we will know whether or not he is going to be able to get out until his trial. So the big discussion here, according to the government, is can they trust him? He has proposed a whole laundry list of things that he's willing to do if they'll let him out. Things like 24/7 security, things like not speaking to anybody, not having internet access, phone access, unless it's through this 24/7 security company. But the government and pretrial services, who is separate from the prosecution, they're not buying it. They're saying that they cannot trust Sean Combs to not follow the law or to not follow the rules that he has even set out for himself. They say because he's already broken the rules that the department, the Bureau of Prisons, and his own counsel have laid out for him within a jail cell. So they're essentially saying if he can't do it there, how could he do it in the comfort of an apartment? They had tried to get him released to Star Island, his home on Star Island right in Miami, because it's an island and there's a dock there. The judge immediately said absolutely not, because in theory he could, escape that way.
The irony of Diddy's situation is almost poetic. A man who once had the world at his feet, adored and admired by millions, now spends his days confined to a cold cell, battling not only legal troubles, but possibly a life-threatening illness. His dramatic downfall serves as a stark reminder that no amount of money, power, or influence can shield someone from the devastating consequences of their actions. What once seemed like invincibility is now a haunting testament to the fragility of success.
Been denied bail in connection with the sexual abuse and sex trafficking charges he faces. And as Les Trent reports, the music mogul who once traveled by private jet to all those mansions is now in a jail that is notorious for its bad living conditions.
Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs spent his first night behind bars inside a facility that is being called Hell on Earth. The Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn is notorious for its appalling living conditions and rampant violence. How bad is it inside this federal lockup? There have been 2 murders, 4 suicides, and numerous stabbings and lockdowns in recent years. It's so out of control inside that 4 federal judges are reportedly refusing to send any more prisoners here. Donald Trump's former fixer, Michael Cohen, spent a harrowing year in federal custody. He says for someone used to a life of luxury like Diddy, prison life is a severe shock.
You have a desk, you have a plastic chair, you have your bed with a 1.5-inch mattress, no pillow, and you also have a locker. So you basically have 3 feet by 5 feet to move around. So you have a basic 15 square feet. It is a horrible, horrible place.
Diddy's lawyers were so eager to keep him out of jail, they offered his palatial $48 million home in Miami Beach and his private jets as bail. Today, they are even offering to restrict female visitors to his homes, except for his mother, daughters, and the mothers of his children if he is released. They told the judge the jail he was being sent to is dreadful, dirty, inhuman, and an ongoing tragedy.
How's your dad doing? How's your dad doing?
Family members appeared somber as they arrived at federal court in Manhattan today in another attempt to get out on bail. The judge cited Diddy's history of violent temper and potential intimidation of witnesses as reasons for keeping him behind bars. Diddy's former protege, singer Aubrey O'Day, is celebrating Diddy's downfall today. I feel validated, a win for women all over the world.
Combs has pled not guilty. Those were the only words he uttered in court yesterday.
And then there's the question of his legacy. How will this chapter of his life affect the way the world remembers him?
Diddy is now being accused of obstructing justice.
Diddy running the jail, man. He running the spot.
Right. According to you, the inmates are fighting over making his bed.
Yep. Well, really, according to Lisa Evers, I want to give her credit. Lisa Evers does an amazing job covering all things, within the New York metropolitan area. She interviewed an inmate that spent some time at MDC Brooklyn alongside Diddy. And, remember, we're all thinking that Diddy's like in super isolation, he doesn't talk to no inmates. We later find out via even court filings by the government, he does. And there's one inmate, look like he's not wrong, because he says, hey, listen, Diddy's such a big player in the game in terms of, his power, and he's that guy even in jail. Dudes are getting jealous at other dudes based on who made his bed. And I'm like, yo.
So that's a real thing? People are actually making his bed?
Yeah.
I thought you were just joking.
Listen, there's an inmate that said it. There's an inmate that said it, that Lisa Evers, who works for Fox 5.
No, I know Lisa. I've done her show before.
Of course. So that's what that inmate said. And I think some people wanted to call it cap till we realized that, the filing that came out on Friday or Thursday by the government, which is a response to Diddy's new motion for bail, essentially said Diddy is using like 8 other inmates like personal access codes to call everybody he wants.
Exactly.
It's like, add this person to the call, add this person. Yo, like he's running the jail. So these inmates, I completely believe, and by the way, this is how the government paints it. He's getting them paid directly through what they call these cash processing systems.
Yeah.
So, probably tells his people, send her $1,000. Send his mom, send his girl, cool. And then the inmate in there with him is like, yo, we're gonna have your commissary filled. You're gonna move around like a king like me. So I get why this is happening. And the only thing I look at is like, why did people believe or think anything otherwise? Like, you think you're gonna normalize a billionaire that could have any type, like, if Diddy walked in a room and this guy's of significant money, power, and even respect, despite whatever happened, and y'all are all in jail, you're not gonna be like, yo, bro, he usually don't gotta bring his tray over there to throw it away. Nah, I'll do it, because I wanna be cool with him. I got my people outside, like, shit, I have a public defender. This guy is spending $2.some million a month on lawyers. He could throw me, even if he throws me $2,500. Hey, nobody can touch Diddy in here. Matter of fact, I'm gonna act like I could be the most bitch-made dude. Hey, I'm just letting y'all know, anybody wanna get to him, y'all gotta go through me. I'll take the ass whooping for it. So this kind of sounds normal. However, I think people thought Diddy was done.